Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Level Up Your Legal Education, a fun exploration of gamification in the legal education space. My name is Vicky Doig. I'm the events manager at Victoria Law Foundation, and I'm very happy to be here today with you and with these fabulous people next to me. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from wherever you may be joining us, and recognise their abiding connection to this land, its waterways and community. We are here in Docklands today with some fabulous natural light behind us, which sits on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and it's my privilege to pay respect to their elders and to all the generations of Wurundjeri and people who have nurtured this land for over 50,000 years and continue to do so today. We believe that acknowledging the past is an essential step in building a better, more equitable future. We recognise the impact of colonisation, its legacy of injustice, and the marginalisation of the Wurundjeri and other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Victoria Law Foundation aims to break down the barriers to justice for all Victorians through our work in research, education and grants. We are committed to making a sincere and positive contribution to a better justice system for all of us, especially those vulnerable and most in need. So, today, we are here to talk about play, and more specifically, how gamification can build legal capability. There's a growing body of research, and I'm a huge nerd for this, so I love it, on the neuroscience behind play. So not just in terms of early childhood development, which is quite a sort of prominent and well-known field of study, but also the fact that it can benefit adults as well. So evidence shows that play supports mental health, improves our ability to relate to others, and helps to mitigate stress during challenging times, or dare I say, during everyday legal issues that people might be experiencing. So it seems like a no-brainer to utilise it in community legal education. So I'm very lucky to have two trailblazers in this field who've harnessed this and are approaching gamification in very different ways. And we're going to hear a little bit about the way that they're doing that in our conversation today. So to my left, yes, left. Thank you, round of applause. We have Millie LaFoe, who is the Senior Youth Worker at South East Monash Legal Service. Millie's passionate about using creative and inclusive approaches to make the law accessible, particularly for vulnerable young people, and leads on an innovative program called Sporting Change that we're going to hear a little bit about today, which is very well known in the CLC space. And it uses sport as a tool to teach young people about the justice system. So to my right, okay, beautiful, this beautiful man. We have Moses Florendo, who's a community lawyer and educator at Whittlesea Community Connections. Also responsible for leading student legal clinics and educating emerging lawyers, and covering areas around civil actions, family law, wills and all of these things. And he has pioneered innovative approaches like this. There we go, you knew where I was going with that. Find Your Way Out, which is a board game modelled on some you may know, like Monopoly, things like that, and funded by Victoria Law Foundation to make legal learning accessible and engaging for diverse communities. So we've got two locations, about 90 minutes apart in Victoria, but actually have very similar demographics in many ways. So it's going to be really interesting to hear about the similarities and the differences of these types of gamified approaches, forgot my own word for a second, today. So since we're talking about gamification, question to the room to start us off. What is gamification and why do you think it's useful in community legal education? Go on you. Yeah, you answer first.
Okay, I'll talk about Sporting Change and how we use
go for it. Yep.
For young people to learn the law. So the concept is young people struggle to learn law or any concept around it. So by using sports, young people are more likely to interact with sports. So we use the laws, the game. So we use so say you have a game, for example, like netball. So we use the rules and then we apply it to the law. So say, for example, we have something like a topic like police powers. So with netball, you have penalties, you get an offside, you get obstruction and you get contact. You can apply all those things to learning police powers. So you're using sports for kids to learn the law like in a simple way versus having to sit down there and look on the screen. Because a lot of young people, they play sports, and as you mentioned before, sports is about well-being, and that applies to young people. And with youth and learning the law, it's a great concept because young people struggle to learn in a classroom setting sometimes. So the sporting part of it is needed, and young people have engaged in it for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And so when the young people are signing up for Sporting Change as a program, are they signing up for a sports program, or are they signing up for a community legal education program?
It's a bit of both. So we do a recruitment process for the kids to attend the program in school, and it's a bit of both, because you do have kids who love sports but don't like the law, and then you come across kids who want to learn the law but don't play sport.
Yeah, right.
So it's a matter of engaging them to do both. So we do have young people that attend the program who've never played sports before, and by the end of the program they're now playing sport. So, and they've learned stuff around the law.
And presumably there's young people who do the program who've never interacted with the law before.
Yes. So or they have interactions with the law from TV, which is quite common, very wrong. So they use programs that they have watched and they bring it to the lawyer and they ask questions, which is also a good way to get answers or to see the lawyer, because not everyone wants to see the lawyer in an office or a setting. So having a casual space where they can access the lawyer during the sports is also a good way.
Wearing tracky ducks?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I think we might have, throwing over to my technical facilitator behind the scenes, we might have a couple of images of your program that we can share, and a bit of a video which gives some of the young people that you've been working with through this the opportunity to tell us in their words what they enjoy about the program. Have we got that behind the scenes? There we go, we can see of that, and then hopefully we can see the video as well. So what kinds of sports do you introduce young people to when you're doing this program?
So we have a variety of sports where I get the sporting coaches to come out to the school, and we give the sporting coaches a bit of education around what topic of law we're using. So give them kind of a prep talk. And then from there, the sporting coach and myself will facilitate the session. So we run things like rugby, soccer, netball, basketball, hockey, dodgeball, all the sports we can find. Lots of sports. Yeah,
fantastic. So but presumably ones that have kind of clear rules and clear kind of boundaries that you can kind of then use to exemplify the concept of the justice system.
Yes, depending on the legal topic we have. So it is a metaphor to use, which has been great, and it's worked. So
I love a metaphor. I can talk all about that. All right, we've got the video teed up.
What is great about Sporting Change?
Getting to play different sports every single week is like my favorite thing about Sporting Change.
It educates like a lot of people that go here about the law more, things that would actually help them in real world situations.
Sporting Change is great for like hanging out with friends, playing games, and learning new things.
So why should young people know about the law?
For me, it will help me to avoid doing crimes without knowing about it.
So they can understand how their rights work and like be a great person in the community.
It feels good to know more about law and like being a good citizen.
A lot of young people around like teenager years, they could sometimes find themselves with like running with the police or law enforcement, like under like peer pressure or this kind of thing. If they knew more about the law, they'd be more educated on the punishments that would come with their actions and that kind of stuff.
Which sport has helped you understand the law?
Basketball is one of like the best games to learn the law.
All sports help me, but soccer helps as with the rules and like people having certain roles and like how people interact.
I have to say basketball.
Especially when like you have to sit there like watching others play till you get your turn, and if you break the law you have to restart.
Brilliant. Thank you to all of those young people. So I suppose the question that I've got around this, because a lot of the young people obviously in that video sort of talk about, well, basketball being one of the ones that educates them the most about the law, but also I suppose understanding that a benefit, I guess, of learning about the law and legal concepts, and maybe they believe that it helps them to avoid interacting with the justice system in the future or the criminal justice system going forward. How do you know that the program works? How do you kind of evaluate or measure the impact of the program?
So in the beginning, when the students join the program, we have a survey that's been provided where students get to write down. So the survey asks you, what do you know? It asks you, what do you know about the law, what topics there are, how it applies to you as a young person. And then at the end of the program, they have to do an evaluation of what they have learned and how much they have learned. So from there, I can gauge to see if it's working. So whatever happens, say for this year, and I go through all the data that's there, I look to improve what for next year. So you look at the topics that the young people have no idea about, and you kind of look at it and think, oh, maybe that's something we start off with in the new year. So you plan as you go. So the surveys do help.
Yeah.
And in young people, in the beginning, they're like, oh, not a survey. But after that, they understand what it's for. And it also keeps the program running.
Yeah.
So that's how you gauge to see if it's working. And the feedback we get from the wellbeing staff, because we are supported by them, also that's how we can see that the young people are learning a lot about the justice system that they live in. So,
and when you do that pre-survey,
yes,
because obviously there's a lot of chat in the world at the moment about how little young people understand theoretically about justice and, you know, democratic concepts and all of that kind of stuff. Is that true based on the feedback that you get at the beginning of the survey? Do you find that there are things that you're like, actually, they know loads about?
Yeah, it is true, because there are certain students who know lots of things about, because our first topic is always legal frameworks.
Yeah.
And it literally, we go through how the law is made. So when we speak about that, kids don't know how the law is made, how it applies to them. But at the end of the session, they would have learned that this is how the law is made.
Yeah.
And when I do a game on who's in the hierarchy, everyone wants to be the king, because they think that that's the most important person when laws are being created. So it's also interesting to see that young people are keen to know how was the law created and how it applies to them.
Fantastic. So just a reminder to the room, which I didn't say at the beginning, so it's actually been telling you for the first time, it's not a reminder. We have a Q&A function here, so please do feel free to pop any questions. If you've got questions for Millie, if you're inspired and want to know about that, and we'll have we'll chat to Moses in a second. So please do pop those questions in there and we'll get to them. I'll try and I can even pop them in throughout conversation as well. So don't feel like you need to hold on to them until the end. You can pop them in while they're in your head and while you remember. So Moses, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here.
I always been wanted to be in your show, so yeah.
I mean, I'm flattered. Tell us a wee bit about Find Your Way Out. Obviously, a very different concept to the physical gamification and the use of sport. We've got the kind of board game concept, which I'm a big fan of. Talk through it. Tell us, how does it work?
How does it work? All right. So first, a brief background. I'm sure a lot of people are expecting that maybe this was created like in a meeting room, like reading books or something. No, I was on a holiday, right? And apparently, I was supposed to have this fantastic scene, but the entertainment system was broken. So what do you do 7 hours, right? So I got my phone, started to write notes, draw a concept like of a board game, and I was thinking, what are the things that we could help communicate things better through a board game? Because I feel like gamification is about us telling people information in a better way, right? So what's the use of communication if your method is something that people really don't understand or struggle? So hence a board game. So one of the things is because I like dealing with fines. As you said earlier, I'm part of a civil actions clinic, which helps students and also have clients out there helping you with fines. Just for a context, right? Victoria is the fines capital of Australia, right? And with the cost of living crisis, if you get a parking fine, that's about $100 plus something. That's quite a lot, right? It's sort of like affects us. It's more than information. It's really personal. Gets to the hip pocket. Now, we're proud to say that having done this board game, what because we were able to convey information to different people. This was meant to be for community workers to help the community at large how to deal with fines. I know you could see a lot here. It feels like I'm like reading your personal cards or talent cards, but or at worst a card stealer. But it's the lessons are very simple here. There's a lot of information, but as anybody who conducts training would know that there are only a few takeaways people should remember, right? For us, it's about them realizing that yes, you have to take this thing seriously, right? $100 for a fine is big. That could be maybe half or for some people a week's grocery, right? And it's very unfair for us at this stage to be choosing between paying a fine and putting food on the table. That is not right. So hence we go out there in the community and try to inform them what are their rights. Now, with this system, the key takeaway would be first, take it seriously. Second, the moment you have a fine, you have to address it because the way it works, the longer you wait on it or do nothing, right? As it progresses, you lose more rights and the fines get bigger, and you don't want that to happen, right? And also contact a community worker or a lawyer or your legal center to help you with your matter, right? As we've said, I'm sure the reason why we've been doing this, Millie's done a great job at this one, and also with the rest of those who are watching in the community of sort of like informing people what is the law. The law is something that is not very appealable to a lot of people. People struggle with that. Even some lawyers are poor, right? But we try to make it as fun as possible so people can learn, right? Because what is the purpose of you talking if people don't understand you? As I said earlier, when we were joking around, some people have this concept: if you can't convince them, confuse them. We don't want to confuse people. We want it to be very clear. Hence, the presentation we made it very simple, appealable, right? So the way this works is that you have a lot of options under the law how to deal with fines, and each option is represented by a color. It doesn't represent all the options, but it's the major ones, right? Say official warning, exceptional circumstances, and the law. And the moment you land in one of these boxes, you get a corresponding card, and it provides the situation and how it is resolved. Right. So as it goes further, you go through different options in the law. And my favorite part, and thanks to my good friend Matthew Calcabiano, who sort of like suggested this one, when you get to the part, so the fine system, if you did not commit it, right, and you're at a particular stage, you could nominate somebody, right? So the fun part is you're already at the home stretch. But if you land into any of these one and it says move forward and pick another one who will roll the dice and move backwards, that's sort of like very interesting. At least you know what that kind of experience sort of like enriches the people's what they call some participation when they play the game, and they remember that, oh my god, when it's a nomination, I could be the one responsible if I'm the one actually driving that. So it takes a lot of experiences. Fun part, like the three corners. If you landed the three corners, you go back to start, right? So it's more of like experience and also teaching. But the takeaways are just simple. You have to take it seriously. The moment you have something, act on it, and then find somebody to help you. Right? Those are the key takeaways for the board game. Yeah.
And what I love, I think, about the board game and actually linked into the sporting change is they're both very kind of connected to metaphor, right?
Right.
In terms of, what you were saying before about the sport being a metaphor for the law, the justice system in that space, and the way that you move through the game and the way that you move through the fine system feels like it's in synergy. Which is a really clever way of doing it, because obviously experiential learning is such a massive part of gamification and play, isn't it? And so where have you rolled this out to so far? Excusing the pun.
Right. Okay. Well, we have done about a couple of demonstrations because this is, as you see, this is a prototype, right? We did our last evaluation session yesterday. We had students inducted and to our legal clinic, and we asked them to comment on the board game, right? So we've done this with a couple of community organizations. We use this one for training. So we have a partnership with the Trobe University, where we have students to do the clinic with us, right? And just sort of like a shameless plug, since 2023, when we started formally working with them, we've helped clients with a total of $500,000 worth of fines waived. Now, and if you put that one into context of the housing crisis, that is $500 per week for rent. If you compute $500,000, I think if my maths are correct, that's about 1,000 weeks worth of rent or 19 years worth of rent for one person. So the impact of that one for that project, that collaboration with the trip is quite big, and we're proud that we teach the students. Good thing with the students, most of them we know will not be will maybe not considering working in a community center, but at least by doing this with them, they may work alongside us in the future. They could be advocates for what we do, right? So playing the game, it's fun. They learn and sort of like yeah, it keeps in mind the things that we should be helping people with.
Yeah.
A lot of people might be saying that, those who are helping fines might just like helping other people get away from responsibility. Well, our view is different. Our view is that we don't kick people when they're down.
Yeah.
Right. Especially for those which has a lot of fines. Most of them have family violence, mental health, and other conditions. What do? Do you squeeze the last cent out of their pocket to pay? As we've said, people in those situations shouldn't be made to choose between paying a fine or putting food on the table.
And so in terms of, I was about to say at VLF, we love fines.
Right.
But just because we know that it's one of the most prevalent legal issues
Yeah.
that people experience from our public understanding of law survey.
Right.
So this is really kind of relevant and a rich way of exploring this.
Yeah.
Have you had a think about at any point how a game like this could be applied to other legal needs or other civil legal areas?
Right. Well, the thing is, this is just the first one. So we will see Community Connections is very innovative in ways of dealing with the service that they provide, right? Including law. So this could be the first, and it's a good thing that we were very lucky that with the support of the rest of the people from Whittlesea Community Connections, that we were able to have this one plus get the funding. Yeah, could be a good first step. We could in my laptop, I've got the drafts of more board games. Say for example, Wills. I've got one. So this one for the fines, it's called Find Your Way Out. I've got another one created called Thy Will Be Done. Of course, obviously, will.
Nice. Yeah.
And a card game called Beyond Reasonable Doubt. Right. So sort of like exciting. Sounds like soap opera titles, but I mean, if you were to get attention, start with the name. Right. So
Usually it's the same as
Yeah.
Sporting Change, right? That's
Correct.
got a kind of vibey name as well. Yeah.
Yes. So we hope we have a great impact with this one, the same way that Millis projects have great impact in their community, right? So yeah, fingers crossed we'll do well with this one and reach more people.
Yeah. And I think that, like you say, the kind of the play aspect of it and the game aspect of it starts with that title, doesn't it? And
Correct,
if you can
yes.
kind of get people in, and I'm just thinking back to the point earlier about the role that play can play in reducing stress
Yes.
for people and kind of taking those play-based approaches. Obviously, sport, you're physically doing something else, so you're distracted, you're kind of, letting the oxygen run around your body and move through that. This, you're focusing on different things and that, and you just imagine the difference between maybe someone standing up with a PowerPoint presentation and saying, let me tell you about fines and your rights, or let me tell you about, the justice system in a PowerPoint kind of way. These ways probably really elicit, I would imagine, more of a favorable response from the audience
Right.
than potentially listening. I don't know if you
No,
have experienced that.
It's a great way of engagement because quite often when you mention law to young people, it's just attached to crime.
Yeah.
So no young people ever, because we do topics like employment law, and quite often that age when you're starting off and going to work, we get a lot of young people who report underpaid and mistreated in the workplace. Versus everyone thinks, oh, would it be a criminal to access the lawyer? So those are the types of things we also talk about at school, how it doesn't have to be a crime for you to come and access legal advice, because it can be also fines, which quite a lot of young people get from traveling.
Public transport.
So so it's things like that. So it's not, law's not all what everyone thinks it is. Even like community people, when you go out there and do CLEs, everyone attaches crime to law. In
terms of that kind of demystification of what the system is, that's a really great way of being able to do that in an engaging way.
One thing I find common what we do is like it's learning by doing. Right? You just don't sit there with books or something, right? Or watch a video. You interact with other people, you learn about their experiences, and then in the process you learn. And I think that's one of the best ways of us retaining information about the law.
And in terms of that that two-way conversation, right? So, you know, as the lawyers or the presenters of this information, you get to hear what people are experiencing rather than that one-way delivery of information, which feels like
Correct.
you don't get anything
So
back
when
from
we
it.
usually play the game, people would share the experience about getting a fine or something that you remember. Yeah, you interact, and I think that's a very good way of us implanting the information that needs to be out there in the community. Considering that we're the finance capital of Australia, so
Yes, it's about retaining the
gosh,
information.
That's triggering when you say that. I said it twice.
But it's about retaining information for young
Absolutely,
people, because quite often, if it's not simple and if it's not in a fun sort of concept, young people tend to, their attention span is very short.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking at the Q&A box, which we obviously are just answering everyone's questions preemptively because it's looking very quiet in there. So speak. You've got a few more minutes. Speak now or forever hold your questions. Is there anything else that you guys want to say about your games?
Well, you know what?
Or games in general?
Yeah, this wouldn't have been possible if not for the support of my where the organization where I work with the community connections, the managers, management, Alex, Emma, my colleagues in the legal team who've been very helpful, and at the same time, those who actually inspired me. I was a lawyer back in the Philippines, but when I moved here, I was dealing with different kind of matters. So I had my first legal boss here introduced me to the world of fines, and that you should help a client holistically, right? So it's mentioned in the what we call this one, the final draft of the board game, and those other lawyers who helped me and contributed and also inspired me that um, it might appear as like $100 or something, but for some people, this is a big thing. It's a big deal, right? As I said, might be worth a week's grocery or more, right? So it's something to be it's something to be like brought up out there so people will know, right? Know their rights and they know how to deal with this one. The law, I feel, should be a tool for the good, right? The true, the good, and the beautiful. But if we do not know it, we can't use it, right? So that's the reason why we have this one, right?
Yes, fantastic.
And I always tell young people, not knowing is not an excuse for when you
Correct.
actually do something wrong. There's quite a lot of young people we come across, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know. But learning it this way is like the gaming and the sports is a good way, especially to engage young people now, learning the law in some, good concept.
Yeah, absolutely. We have had a question in the Q&A box.
No question.
Thank you very much, Peter. Is the board game available for purchase?
Oh, we haven't thought of that one, but we got a grant to have this like produce like I think 5 or 10 but anyway keep in touch, right? And we're happy to like send if you've got an extra, right? And see what other funding we could get so we could give this away because we don't want to monopolize nobody. But we want to share information. Information is meant to be shared, not to be monopolized.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. So without any, maybe there's another question in there. No, that was the same question. Okay. Thank you very much to our fabulous esteemed panelists for today, and thanks for coming to tell us all about these fabulous programs. I think you're absolutely right, that nail on the head of it being about the retention of information and building that broader kind of legal capability when we talk about kind of people having the skills and the knowledge and the confidence and the resources to be able to make effective use of the justice system if they want to. And in terms of building confidence, it feels like both of these are really great approaches to being able to kind of just enhance that level of confidence that people from, whether they're young people or culturally diverse communities or any of those kind of spaces, feels like a really great way to do that. So thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for bringing it in, getting to see it in the flesh. It's a total treat. We will be sending out the recording after today. So if you have any questions after today or things that you just were sitting on but you want to ask later, please feel free to email them into us. We can also send the copy of the video or some other information about Sporting Change and the board game if that would be of use. Thank you so much to our team behind the scenes, to Leon and to Nick for being there today. And thank you all for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed today's discussion, and hopefully in Law Week this year we will see many, many more games in the panel or in the program. Thank you so much, and we will see you later.